morning, y'all. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Speaking at Creative Mornings has been on my list of goals for 3 years, if not fully 6 years since I tried stand-up, but I didn't really think I had anything worth talking about until about 3 years ago. So I am just thrilled to be here. And gosh, where do we start? Okay, we're going to start with a little bit of stand-up. And I'm going to make the joke, is this thing on? It's not. It's just a prop. It's off. It's not plugged into anything. Anyway, there's a phrase I hear a lot, being who I am and doing stand-up and just around my friends. They like to say, "You're so brave, Erin. You're so brave." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they say, "Well, that outfit, that's a brave choice." Or they'll say, "That haircut's a brave thing you did." And I'm always kind of side-eyeing them a little bit. And then they'll say, "Oh, quitting your job before you had another one lined up, that was brave of you." Yeah. Or they'll say, "2 divorces by the time you were 33, that's brave." Well, damn it, you can just be mean to me. I'm ready. You can just say, "Erin, you make bad decisions," and I can hear that. I can receive that truth from my friends. No, I do like the word brave. I think that I am brave. A lot of it is hubris, but you got to get out there. You got to take a risk. When I describe stand-up to my friends who haven't done it or who I haven't peer pressured into trying it yet, here's how it feels to get on stage. When I was in the 9th grade, I had a crush on a boy in my class. His name was James Wadsworth. You can look him up. I'm not censoring that. That is truly his name. And we would partner up for all of our book reports and things in English class. And we talked on AIM after school every day to just chit chat about the subjects and get our homework done and whatever. And I was having these feelings, and I could tell that he was having feelings too. I could just tell. So at school, I wrote a note, and it was a very leading question. I wrote, "I know you like me. Am I right? Yes or no?" And I folded it up and I slid it across the table. And he opened it and read the note and crumpled it up and threw it away right in front of me. And that's what stand-up comedy feels like. It is where you just pour your heart out, and people can take it or leave it, and sometimes they shit all over your little heart, but it's fun, and you just keep coming back for more. But gosh, I've had 2 divorces. I'm married now for the 3rd time. I have a baby. I had a baby during the pandemic, which I don't recommend. Don't do that. I enjoyed it for myself, but I would not recommend it. And I am a stand-up comic. Stand-up comedy has kind of been on hiatus. You guys might know that, but we're coming back. And just like Creative Mornings, we've got to be really cognizant of how to come back and how to do that responsibly. But I wanted to just touch on, I'm going to put the mic down now because I'm done telling jokes, I think. Okay. I wanted to touch on a couple of things about resilience, and I'm going to try and time myself so I don't just talk too much, but I like to talk. So let me get my screen shared so someone will have to tell me. Oh, it says I can't, but you're going to let me, Vishali, please. You'll have to tell me when you can see it. And let me make sure that I'm sharing the right thing. Screen. Minimize that.
Should be good to go.
Okay. Ooh, good morning. It's Friday. Thank goodness. My child does not know that it's Friday, but
I am curious. I think that you've just helped the audience think of what our ages are, because some of us know what AIM is and some of us don't. There are definitely people on this call who are like, "What is she talking about?"
Well, it was the only way to talk to each other, and my screen name was Care Bear 14.
I was almost gonna write my screen name, and I was like, this is like
Please
too
do.
many details about teenage.
I was also an ICQ. I see you on there in the chat. But I got catfished by a guy in Canada who was 15. So, this was like 1998 catfishing. This is before the TV show. This is legit. Okay, sharing my screen. Let me go back to see if I can find it. This is it. Can you see this?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Y'all, what is resilience if not getting braces for the second time as an adult at 32 after your second divorce, right as you're back on the dating apps? Tell me, if you don't think that's resilient, I don't know what is. And smiling about it, because all of this, I had to get braces. Do you see this tiny, tiny tooth where I should have a canine tooth? I know you can see this picture. I had a baby tooth that never fell out until we pulled it out and put in a fake tooth when I was 33. And that's why I had to get braces. I had to like rearrange my teeth so that we had room to do a fake canine. And now I have some fake teeth, which is great. And then on the right, and you can all see this, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure it's showing up. Yes. On the right, you can see I played with scissors way too much in my worst depressive states between my second divorce and nowadays. And I will tell you that I was not a kindergarten teacher or an art teacher in a cool movie. I am not like the main character in anybody's film. I don't deserve good bangs, I guess. I don't know. But I will tell you that is resilience, is showing up every day knowing you look like propaganda from the 50s. I don't know. It was bad. And you just got to put a smile on it. And hopefully all your pictures are blurry from those years. I did meet my third husband, who I'm currently married to, with those bangs. So resilience is just a matter of perspective. But I'm not here to talk about my bangs, although I'm happy to, or my teeth, which I'm also happy to talk about. I'm here to talk about my comedy show, which I started, and I'm still running, and hopefully, coming back from the dead here soon. But I'm so excited just to kind of give the history of Eyes Up Here comedy. Of course, there's a Q&A when, when I'm done rambling about comedy, but I'm just thrilled to get to talk about my favorite subject, which is this project and this baby that I had 6 years ago. It's not a literal baby, it's a show, a series of shows. But I'll just tell you, I'm not a slide maker. I like colors and I like to make flyers, and then I ran out of steam. So here we go. Here's the first explanation of why Eyes Up Here comedy got here. I have to start with my own origin story as a stand-up. So I was born in 1984. I'm an ENFP. I'm a Leo. I'm a Enneagram type 2. And here's the most explanation that you need. I'm a middle kid, like legit middle kid, like forgotten and who cares about you middle kid. And so, of course, one day I needed to try stand-up. Like it was just like, it was a matter of time. And I put it on my bucket list to try stand-up comedy before I turned 30. And I tried it in February of 2014 when I turned 30, 6 months later. So I kind of ran down to the wire, and mistakes were made. So if you ever have thought about doing stand-up, don't do the following things. One, use your real name. You should. I tried to use a moniker that did not work, and that the producers and the show hosts were like, don't do that ever again. I had also made it my YouTube channel for what? For one video. I had made it my Instagram handle. Is a lot. It's too much for starting out in comedy. I also invited everybody that I knew. Everybody that I knew was invited to my first open mic. No, don't do that. Don't do it. You have a whole cheering section that is not an open mic. God, even my dad drove down from Boone to clap for me on the front row of my open mic on a Monday night in downtown Raleigh. Bless him. I also binge watched all the stand-up specials I could get my hands on. And that is just not a good headspace. You can't watch professionals do something before you're trying to do it on a very amateur level. You shouldn't do that to yourself. They have writers, they have editing teams, they have good lighting, they have makeup and hair, and they have canned laughter. So I don't have any of that, and I shouldn't have I shouldn't have put myself in that space. I practiced in a hairbrush in my mirror in the bathroom. I had a callback, which is a very advanced skill for a first timer to try to achieve, to have a joke that ends calling back to the first joke you told. You don't need to do that. I also recorded it and put it on YouTube immediately with all this raucous cheering from my family section. Truly not a good litmus test of whether or not you are good at making strangers laugh. Here's me on the stage. You can see it now. This is 2014. And I was hooked. I was like absolutely into it. I loved the idea that I was on stage making people laugh at my own words and experiences. And so I came back for more because I decided that the more I thought about it, the more I questioned those laughs. I was like, no, you got to try this again. And it's got to be in front of strangers so that they don't already know you. They have no vested interest in making you feel better about being funny or not. So I did it and I went back up. This is actually the second mic. I went back up and I told jokes straight out of my notebook. I brought my notebook on stage. And one of the male comics who I looked up to leaned over when I came off stage and he said, that was way better than the last time you were up there. So cool, really glad, really glad. And then I'll just give you a little context for the Triangle comedy scene in 2014. Here it is. This is every comedy show you've ever needed to see 6 years ago in the Triangle. And that's not a slight against, men. I obviously tolerate most men and can laugh at men. I have the ability to laugh at people not like myself. But this is every lineup. This is what you got in the Triangle when you went to a show. And when I asked other comics where the women were, they didn't really have many answers. They would say like they knew 2 or 3 and that none of the women were there that night. And so I'd be like the only girl kind of hanging out by myself, wondering if my period jokes were going to land or not, and wondering if it's annoying that I'm going to talk my own body. Well, guess what? I did it anyway. And I started to look for the other women and try to come alongside people who might understand my jokes about being married or having like maternal instincts or not having maternal instincts, leaving a candle burning for a whole night while I was out with a date, coming home the next day to a candle that you left burning for 24 hours, Erin. You should not ever have a family. Like, what are you doing? Okay, well, comedy is a lone wolf activity. That's what I learned. It is not improv. Improv is a team effort. There's practices. These people like each other. Stand-up comedy is like show up and go up. You can slide in the back. You can cancel last minute. Someone else will take your spot. Someone else will take your minutes. And if you were looking for feedback, no one is listening to your set unless you ask them to, because they're scribbling in their own notebooks or outside smoking. That is just how it was. It still is kind of how it is, but it's not that it's bad. It's just not very conducive to building a community and having people who are there to listen and tell you like, hey, I liked that joke. I think your word choice could be here or there. And then I met another woman who actually spent time with me at Mike's, and she's actually on this call. I'm pretty sure I saw her in the participants, but my friend Virginia Wallace, who was a comedy mentor to me, has been a friend of Eyes Up Here as it started out in my head, and then also just fostering the sense of, am I funny enough to keep doing this? Virginia and I would sit down before open mics and write jokes, and we would bounce ideas off of each other, and we would say like, I'm going to be at this mic, will you come too? Or, just kind of giving like a wing person. And then I started to gather more names. And as I attended these shows and got frustrated with these shows, seeing that the women were funnier, sometimes funnier than the headliner on a show, and yet they're stuck in the middle, never opening a show or closing a show, which means they're kind of the filler in the middle which isn't malicious. I don't think that male bookers or producers or hosts were out to ruin women in comedy. I just think that the kind of bro code or like handshaking that happens, or hanging out in the back, or hanging out all night, isn't something that a lot of women can do into the wee hours of the morning, or drinking 6 PBRs on a Monday night isn't going to happen. You know, you've got places to be and mornings to be cognizant at. The next day you have people relying on you or pets relying on you. I mean, it was a different landscape then. I'd like to think that the comedy scene has changed in the last 6 years since the Triangle comedy scene in 2014. I'm yet to see it sometimes, but we are still pushing it. And that really came out of a headspace for me, where I just said, you know what? If I keep asking the question, where are the women? I'm going to answer this question, because no one else is going to give me more stage time just for being a girl. And I don't want more stage time just for being a woman here. I want more stage time so I can get better. And I want to see the other women on the scene get 10 minutes instead of 6, get 15 minutes instead of 4. You know, you're never going to get better unless you get to practice. And so I was really, really enthused to try and get a venue, a space, a lineup together to show like, hey, we can do this. There are enough women that are funny and that maybe hobbyist comics, which, you know, they just want to go up every now and then. They don't really go to a lot of open mics, but they're naturally funny people who enjoy stand-up. Great, let's have you. Please be on this stage, you know, like think through your set and bring it with you. And then there are others who want to use comedy as a launch pad to get out of the Triangle and to go to New York City or Chicago or LA. And we're happy to accommodate those women as well. And so I started it in 2015. I walked all the bars I could think of in the Warehouse District and on Fayetteville Street. And we ended up having our first show for free at Common 414, which is no longer a bar. So we outlasted that one, but they let us have our first show there. It was free. I literally had as many women comics as I knew. It was like 9 of us. One drove up from Wilmington and another drove in from Rocky Mount. And it was standing room only. It was packed. It was amazing. The energy was great. And, you know, I was riding this high, and I went back to the venue event coordinator and I was like, can we do this again? Can we do this like monthly? I'd really like to do it monthly. And she was like, we're going to do jazz next month. And I was like, cool. Well, I guess I'm going to hoof it and try and talk to some other bars. And so eventually I approached the owners at King's, Neptune's, Garland about having a show there that would be for my Eyes Up Here comedy. And gosh, it was kind of hard born. There were 2 shows already happening, comedy shows already happening in that space. But none of them were just for women or of women. And so that was my pitch. And I just said, you know, can we do this? And they said, yeah, but not monthly. You can pick one Sunday or one Wednesday a quarter and we'll try it out. And I was like, okay, that I know that I really want it to be monthly, but okay. And so we did it quarterly in 2015. And gosh, by the time 2016 rolled around, we had enough of an attendance that had kept building that I like just laid it out there and said, what do you have to lose? Let's do this monthly. Women can handle things that happen monthly. Believe it or not, we can do that. And suddenly it was monthly, and we got to be on First Fridays. And it was so exciting to have a show happening monthly. And then, you know, being 2 years into comedy by then, I realized there were a lot more women than just 7 women that were funny in the Triangle and beyond. And I started to just network and get introductions to other women that were on stages and doing storytelling shows and improv groups, and saying like, have you done stand-up? Like, you should come do stand-up. Tell a story, you know, it doesn't have to be strictly like joke, punchline, joke. It can be, you know, just be yourself on a mic. And gosh, we built it up, and we had our first show. We had First Fridays at Neptune's. We eventually got complaints from our Durham friends that Raleigh's too far, so you need a Durham show. And I love that complaint, because then we got to be at the Pinhook, and we have had monthly shows at the Pinhook since late 2016, which, if you haven't been to the Pinhook, it's an amazing space. It's welcoming, it's inclusive, it's so much fun to be on that stage and to see the comedy that comes out of Durham and to foster that community there as well. And then being at the Pinhook, we actually started an open mic that is just for women. And this is, I want to just say, it's inclusive. It's trans women are women, so trans women get on stage, eyes up here, and non-binary people get on stage, eyes up here, and marginalized voices, underrepresented voices are the ones that we are happy to elevate on our stages, at our open mics, giving feedback, asking for, support to, gosh, we've had people talk about survival stories on stage. None of it was funny, but we're certainly here for it, and there were funny parts, but gosh, we've seen people through some ish, and our open mic is called Everybody But You, Bro, because that's basically who it's for. And my favorite thing that people sometimes ask when they understand that I run a show that's just for women on stage, they say, well, can men attend? And I'm like, I wish I could keep you out. I wish that I had a venue that was like, we will let you put no men allowed on the door, and it'll be like a clubhouse and like for third graders in a treehouse. No, men are welcome. Obviously, we don't need to prove to you that women are funny. We're having a really great time on our own stages, making room for ourselves. And we have quarterly shows in Asheville and Wilmington and Charlotte. And gosh, like if I counted, I believe it's over 200 women comics and non-binary comics have been on our stages, have either continued a comedy career, come back to a comedy career, or started a comedy career on Eyes Up Here stages in North Carolina. And that is way more than I ever thought. I just wanted a way to kind of talk about my body and have hosting abilities and get to chit chat before and after all the shows with the people that I like to talk to, because I don't watch a lot of stand-up. I like to watch local stand-up, and I like to foster this garden of talent, and to say like, okay, well, that was kind of tone deaf, and I think you didn't realize you like meandered, so maybe I can give you some feedback and I can help you understand, like, you alienated old people during that part of your set, or you alienated Gen Z in this part of your set. It's just a lot of fun. And obviously we were really excited to have our 5-year anniversary last year in 2020. March of 2020 was our 5-year anniversary, and there was no one at our show. It was like maybe 30 people at the show because it wasn't safe. It was like the last event that I attended or through before the pandemic. And now we're here, and a lot of along the way, resilience is just built into comedy. You've got to be able to listen actively while you're on the mic and give yourself the ability to grow and evolve and not tell shitty jokes that hurt people or punch down. And you've got to pay attention to what the audience is giving you. If the energy is high, like, ride that, and if it's low, build it back up. Beyond that, Eyes Up Here got a lot of flack from some haters, and I'm not even going to spend time on these haters. Just know, for every like accolade and award and interview with NPR that we've managed to get, there's been posts about us online that are like, this is lowering the bar for comedy in the Triangle because you're too generous with stage time. And I just think that there's more room. There's room for so many more people. And gosh, this is where part where I ramble. I really just, when I boil it down and when I think about why I continue to tell jokes and why I continue to encourage people to get on stage, men and women, I won't put the men on my stages. It's just that the way that it's always been done is not the way it always will be done for anything. And so challenge it, like, you've got to be able to bounce back and ask questions and say, okay, well, this needs to evolve, or we need to pivot. Going to Zoom shows last year was a huge pivot. It's like crickets. I need laughter. I need like immediate feedback. I love a groan. I love to make the audience just go, oh, Erin, oh no. And I miss it so much, but I knew it's still there. I at least can see, some head nodding. I guess that's all I'm going to get on Zoom. But gosh, we've just done a lot and we're not going anywhere. We might have to start over with venues. I'm actually really concerned about that, just because a lot of our venues are bars. They're queer owned bars. They're local bars. They're not places that are sitting on tons of cash or PPP. And so I'm curious how we all come back. And so writing this talk this morning was really hard because I needed to focus on the positives and to, try not to get stuck on the fact that we aren't back in person yet. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like. And, how to be resilient after COVID with being an event planner and a host and just a person again. It's really hard. I feel like for most of 2020, the locus of control was outside of our ability. And now we're starting to get it back. And that's going to take adjustment, and it's going to be challenging, but we're going to do it, and we're going to laugh so we don't cry. That always helps. I'm fortunate I did not lose anyone during 2020, but I was also pregnant and so therefore immunocompromised. And so my world completely changed for most of 2020 just out of an abundance of caution. And so everything we have to do is very tempered as we go back. And I know Vishali and Creative Mornings is going to have to consider this as well. But yeah, if we're restarting, we're coming back better. And I see that question. I have wanted to cut my bangs every day, but I have not. I grew them out during quarantine, partially because pregnancy makes your hair do all sorts of things, hormones. But right now they're like full length and they're just pinned to the side. You guys, I'm not going to cut them. I don't deserve to look like your cool art teacher right now. I need to just have a low maintenance hairstyle for a change.
Well, people loved your bangs. I saw so many comments about how cute they were. So
they were very, that's nice of y'all, truly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Erin. We really appreciate you. Curious, I know we kind of zoomed through your childhood, but you said you didn't do stand up until 2014. I was curious if there were like moments that in your childhood, like you had taken advantage of to like do comedy, or you had folks that kind of you admired or looked up to who gave you an inkling that this might be something that you want to try.
Oh yeah. So a few things. I grew up very conservative, Southern Baptist, and not even like my parents weren't even church people. My neighbors were, and they were really good at it. So they took us all the time. And I was really involved with anything that was on the stages at church, any kind of speaking roles or singing, which I'm not good at, but at church, it doesn't matter. And I realized by the time I was a teenager, I realized that the best parts of my mom's talkativeness and my dad's storytelling had come together in my personality, because I'm the best, but the best daughter they had. But that when something funny happened in my group of friends, oftentimes my friends would say, Erin, you tell it. Erin, you tell it. Will you remember when that guy did that at the mall? Will you tell it to our friends at the lunch table? Or at youth group, it would be like, okay, well, who wants to talk? And I would get on stage. And I never really considered that public speaking, because I felt like I knew everyone, and because I, am friends with everybody there. And I don't know, I wanted to be a youth pastor when I went to college at App State. I got a degree in philosophy and religion. I'm not using it ever. Still paying for it, which is the worst part. But I am just inclined to talk in front of people. And when you're practicing to be a youth pastor, you've got to get up on stage and be vulnerable and willing to, ask the audience to do things with you, not just for you, but with you. And I think I use a lot of that in my stand up and in creating this network of women who I keep good relationships with around North Carolina. A lot of it still feels churchy to me, except for the cussing and the drinking. But it's really I think that it's just a matter of like those personality traits and the opportunities that I had along the way that I enjoyed more than I backed down from. I like went for them more. And yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to turn it over to Charles to ask a question.
Hello, Charles.
Hey, Erin.
Hi.
Thank you so much for this. And I just have to say, like, we are such big fans of Eyes Up Here, as I think you know, and we've been missing it. And so it's great to see you here today and to hear your story. And I was just curious, you talked a little bit about doing some of the online programming during the pandemic, but, with things starting to open up again, I guess I was just curious, I mean, in the arts, in general, I think we think things are probably gonna be a little different when they come back. So like, how do you think it's gonna be different when we go back to shows like Eyes Up Here in the future? And
I think it's going to be better. Sorry.
It's gonna be better. Okay, well, yeah, like tell me why. Like, I'm curious. And like, what, I mean, are there things that make you nervous? Are there things you're super excited about? Like what, tell us about that. Cause I just can't wait to get back. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Charles, I love that you always come to my shows, and I'm so glad that you're here this morning because you've helped me produce my shows and to meet new people and to have shows at Raleigh Little Theater when you were there. And gosh, I say we, it's really myself and I have kind of behind the scenes comics who help me with our social media and with our email newsletter, which we're really bad about sending out, but we're paying for still. um, when I think about coming back, it's really hard. I already mentioned about our venues and, being cognizant of like, how does a comedy show warrant getting people COVID? It doesn't. Like, laughter is not worth that. That's why we didn't even play with the idea before the vaccines, especially. Like, there were just not going to be in-person shows. It wasn't worth it. But when I think about coming back, I know that we may be starting over. We might be looking at smaller venues until we build back up, and it might feel like we're back at square one, but we're not. We have people who already know about us, and we have, like yourself and all these lovely people this morning. Gosh, we have a foot in the door where we didn't before. And we have all the lessons I've learned probably the hard way in the past 6 years, like how to be more inclusive, how to get more women of color on stage. Where are the comics who are not excited to work with a white woman at the helm, that I can have other people on a mic running the show with my help from behind the scenes, because I don't need to be the face of Eyes Up Here exclusively all the time. Plus, I have a baby now, so like I need to learn how to let go of the reins and to, take a break and really trust that I've at least worked with other competent folks who can run a show and who would run things the way that I would run them if I'm the best. But I'm just doing my best. All of those lessons were coming for in 2021, and having the ability to pivot again and again has just been a vote of confidence and not necessarily a reason to stop. We could have stopped. I really toyed with it, like, why do we keep coming back? Like, what is Eyes Up Here doing? And I just, I love it so much, but I also think that there's so many people who love it and who it's really fostered a community for, that otherwise doesn't exist in comedy because of that lone wolf kind of bro code, comedy patriarchy. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to come back stronger. Is what I want to do.
It means being super flexible. It means getting things done that you never thought could get done in that time or space or shape. It's been crazy, hasn't it?
I had a fear of coming here when people started coming, but we had reduced capacity, which really helped my fear. And also listening to the people that were coming here and how much it was needed, this museum being open, that helped me too, because I realized it's not just about my fear, it's also about people having a safe space to really be themselves and to just contemplate and meditate or be outside.
We are very social, especially part of the visitor experience team. And so being away from people has been a new challenge. Resilience to me is, especially now, maintaining connections. And that's whether it be maintaining connections with my coworkers, with my friends, with my family, or with the rest of our community in the state of North Carolina.
It's challenging to do this kind of work during a pandemic, but we were able to get several exhibitions open and make some alterations to the museum for changing conditions.
But we've been taking extra steps to make sure that we sanitize everything throughout the building to accommodate the customers to come in here and visit us at the Museum of Art. But we're making it through, which I think that's a really good thing.
And I think there have been some numbers. I think last year was like 98,000 people came to the park within a couple of months' time. So we saw traffic increase, but also this park was a place for people to kind of get away from the pandemic, to kind of look at nature and kind of get their sights off either losing jobs or doing, or thinking about, how this pandemic is going to affect them. So basically, we were here to be welcoming, but it put the North Carolina Museum of Art Park on the map. People will say, hey, I found this place out there in the pandemic and it really helped us out coming out here to walk around and get outside and breathe fresh air.
I never realized how many people were so alone, and this place really is like a safe spot for them. So that helped me a lot with my fears. And also just talking to some of the people, I really got a sense that this is their area where they feel comfortable. I mean, for some of them, they're artists and this is like a muse to them. They come here and get inspiration. I mean, we actually see people doing art here. A guy showed me his sketchbook. He was doing the King Saul, great work. We have photographers that come here and get inspiration.
So when we came back to the museum when we reopened, it was fun to be able to come back and see everyone and start to build new connections as well. We were able to not only welcome our members and visitors that came to us in the past, but now new visitors and new guests, the respite, the refuge, and just a sense of belonging and wonder as well. It's a way for us to connect not only to our community, but for the rest of the world.
We just want to make sure people kept the safe distance, were wearing masks when it was required, but we still wanted to be welcoming at the same time because we knew a lot of people were going through a lot of stressful situations, and welcoming and safety of the public was our main priority during that time.
I love dealing with people. I'm a people's person. And I like cleaning. It's my job and I love doing it. So I think that's it's a plus.
This has been a hard year for everyone, but I'm happy to see the visitors return to the galleries and to be a part in contemplative spaces.
We adapt and we come together as best that we can to support each other, and that is what we have done, especially here on the front lines, from visitor experience to housekeeping to the security staff. All of us together have been much more supportive because we miss so many others that have been here in the past, such as our volunteers and our docents.
I think the one thing that really made me appreciate the notion of resilience was being pressed out of, kind of your wheelhouse, your safe zone, and being able to do more things than you ever thought would get done. Being able to not lose your mind every time the schedule changed, because that was a lot. And when we were finally able to open our doors to the visitors, to all the work that we had been doing, I looked like that.
Have a wonderful weekend. It was so wonderful to see everyone.
Thank you, Erin. Everyone on mute and clap.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Erin.
Thanks, Erin. Thanks, Erin.